We are going to be doing a challenge. So Natalie, do you want to tell everybody what it is?
I do. Okay, so we've decided that I will select something for her, and then she has to try to dupe it into something that looks like a high-end designer piece.
Yes.
All right, Lisa, I've got your challenge.
Right.
I want you to do something with a girly pillow because I remember you did another one that looked so cute, and I want to see if you've got any other ideas. What do you think?
I think that is a great idea. So my challenge is to take that pillow covering and turn it into something fabulous. My inspiration piece is from Etsy. I absolutely loved this pillow covering. It is so beautiful, so high-end. I loved the blue leaves on it. What I didn't love was the price of $48.99. I know that we can make one that's similar for less. So we already have our pillow covering. Now we need to make some leaves. I was at Hobby Lobby and all of the ribbon was 40% off. And I came across this velvet ribbon. I love the gorgeous shade of blue. We are going to be using this ribbon to create our leaves. So what I needed was a pattern. So I created a leaf pattern on Canva and I simply printed it off. If you want to use this pattern, you can. I will leave a link to the free printable in my description box. So all I did was I cut out the leaves and the stem, and then I flipped my ribbon over and I put my pattern over the top. Then I got a pencil and I traced out the leaves and the stem. Then I took my fabric scissors and I cut everything out. I will say cutting out a lot of these leaves was really time consuming. So put on some fun music or put my videos on in the background so you can listen to them and watch them while you cut out these leaves. Once everything was cut out, I arranged them over the top of my pillow covering. I made sure that everything was in the right place and that I liked the design. I'm going to adhere the ribbon leaves to the pillow covering with some fabric glue. I got this at Hobby Lobby, and all I did was I added the fabric glue to the back of the leaves and the stems, and I just pressed it firmly to the pillow covering. You're going to want to make sure that the leaves are really well adhered, so add a bunch of this glue because you want everything to stick well. Once everything was glued down, I let it dry overnight. I filled my pillow covering with a down pillow insert that I already had. It just slipped it right inside and we are done, you guys. Look at how beautiful this pillow covering is. It looks so expensive, so high-end. I love the velvet leaves and stems. They look so luxurious. I think our pillow covering looks so similar to our inspiration piece pillow covering, but they are not similar in price. If you remember, our inspiration pillow covering was $48.99. So I'm going to calculate all the costs that went into creating my pillow covering, and it came to a grand total of $10.24. I think that that is such a steal for how gorgeous this is. And what I'm going to do with this pillow is I'm going to put it smack dab in the center of the pillows on my bed. It definitely elevates the luxurious look of my bedding. This was easy and affordable to do. I think we met and exceeded the challenge of taking this pillow covering and turning it into something beautiful. If you're like me, fall is all about that cozy vibe, pumpkin spice and everything nice. Well, to enhance that fall glow up, I need a special helper, and I'm relying on the 3i P10 Ultra Robot Vacuum to keep my floors spotless without lifting a finger. This robot vacuum is a game changer for those busy fall days. Let's talk about the first fabulous feature, and it's the suction on this vacuum is 18,000 PA of suction power. The 3i P10 Ultra effortlessly tackles everything from dirt tracked in from the outside to crumbs on my cozy fall rugs. Its anti-tangle tech and Tangle Cut blade handle dirt and craft messes without getting stuck. It also sucks up all kinds of hair, so if you have pets, this vacuum is going to help you so much. The hair won't get stuck in the brush. And speaking of messes, we are a busy household and there are always spills on the floor. I don't need to worry anymore because this vacuum just cleans it right up. The extendable mop reaches every corner and edge, ensuring my fall decor looks flawless from every angle. Watch it hug that baseboard like a pro. No streaks, just pristine tiles. One of the things I absolutely love about this vacuum is that it detects a pretty significant spill. It will go over the spill, mop it up, stop, reverse, go back over the spill as many times as needed in order to get your tile sparkling clean. Just look at how pristine that floor looks now. Of course, we've got to love the AI obstacle avoidance. I've got so much stuff on the floor right now. I've got my tree, I've got my pumpkins, I've got my hay bales, and I don't have to worry about my fall decor getting sucked up or shoes getting run over or other things getting knocked down. It dodges items left on the ground with precision. Powered by Apex Vision, DTOF LiDAR, dual 3D structured light, and AI camera. So I don't have to tidy up the floor before it cleans, see it weave around my pumpkins like it's got eyes everywhere. With the 3i app and Alexa compatibility, I can schedule cleanings or control it with simple voice command, making fall hosting a breeze. And when it's done cleaning, the all-in-one station does it all. Empties the dust bin, washes and dries the mop pad with anti-tangle maintenance too. So now I can focus on sipping apple cider, not scrubbing my floors. The 3i P10 Ultra is not just a vacuum, it's my handy dandy companion. It keeps things pristine so I can soak up that autumn magic. I will leave a link to this vacuum in my description box so you can head on over to their website and check it out for yourself. I know you will love it. Our inspiration piece comes from Horchow. This piece happens to be a pillow. Now I picked up a pillow covering from Ikea. Now we're over here in the pillow section, and in the past I've told you guys that you don't have to buy new pillows to refresh your space. All you need to do is get pillow coverings. Well, they have a huge variety of pillow coverings here. We're gonna get one and we're gonna spruce it up. Our inspiration piece pillow is $115. That's too expensive for a pillow, but I do love the detail that's on this pillow. I love the florals, and I love that they're 3D florals. It's just so elegant and beautiful. Now we are going to make our own version of this particular pillow. I'm using some different colors and a little bit of a different design, but it's still going to mimic our inspiration piece. So what we're gonna do is get our pillow covering. I'm going to use some iron-on vinyl. So I created some stems and some leaves, and I had my Cricut Maker cut them out. Then I placed them over the top of my pillow covering. I got my Easy Press and I put it over the top of the vinyl, and the Easy Press fused everything together. I needed some 3D flowers, and I remembered that I used some flowers to embellish my pumpkins in the fall. I loved these flowers. They are so pretty. They are from Hobby Lobby. They are over in the ribbon and the lace section, so you can buy a yard of this, which is what I did back in the day, and I had some that was left over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these flowers out individually. I'm going to cut them away from the ribbon that's underneath it, so I have flowers that I can place on my pillow covering. To attach them to my pillow covering, what I did was I got a needle and thread, and I simply just sewed them to the pillow covering. I had 20 of these flowers, so each pillow gets 10. Next, I filled my pillows with a feather insert that I had just at home, and now we are done. You guys, these pillows, oh my goodness. It's probably one of my favorite dupes that I've ever done. I love the way they look. This looks so expensive. The 3D flowers make this look unique and special, and to switch out your pillows can get expensive, but if you buy pillow coverings and embellish them the way that we've done it, it can make things a lot more affordable. You would never know that this was a pillow covering that I embellished for a very cheap price. So let's go over how much it cost me to make my pillow coverings. So as you saw, the pillow coverings at Ikea were $4.99. That's a steal, you guys. That's one of the best things that you can buy at Ikea are the pillow coverings. So I purchased 2 of those, so that's $10. I did use an entire roll of this champagne iron-on vinyl. So we'll say that was $10. The leftover floral pieces, we'll say that those were $3. So to create my pillow covering, it cost me $24 for 2, which is awesome. Now I will say that the pillows from Horchow came with the pillows inside, and I did add mine. I had mine at home. So if you do need to go out and buy some actual pillows themselves, you'll have to add that cost to the price of this. But nonetheless, you guys, we saved ourselves $207 over our inspiration pillows. Love it. They turned out so beautifully, and you guys, they were so affordable to make. If you're looking for a cheap way to spruce up your home decor, change out your pillows, but you are on a tight budget, this is the way to do it. I was browsing through all of the wall art on the Paragold website, and I came across this gorgeous cascading floral wall art. These flowers are in a shadow box frame. It is simply stunning, but the price is stunning as well. Can you see that it's $1,338? Yeah, that's gonna be too much for me, so we are going to dupe it for much less. This time we are going to be using this shadow box frame that I purchased from Ikea. The size is really great. It's a 50 by 50 centimeter. It's also the right color, so I knew it would be perfect for this project. Now we need some flowers to go inside. I was at Hobby Lobby and I went down the dried floral section and I came across these beautiful white flowers. They're the perfect size, the perfect color, and I love the way they look. I got 2 different sizes of these flowers, and I was in luck because that day all of the florals at Hobby Lobby were 40% off. These flowers are so cool. They're not wood, they're almost like foam, which is going to be great in our shadow box because it's going to hold its shape really well. Okay, so next we need a mat to go in the back of our shadow box. I was in the clearance section at Hobby Lobby and I came across these giant pieces of mat. I found one that was cream, which is going to be perfect for the color scheme, and the price was right at $3.74. Now we have all of our items. So the first thing we need to do is remove everything from our shadow box. Then I took the paper that was inside of the frame. I'm going to be using this as a template so I can get the correct size square for my mat, and then traced out the correct size with a pencil. I got a rotary cutter and I cut the square out with the rotary cutter. Now I have the exact size that I need to put inside my frame. Next, I'm going to take my flowers. What I need to do is cut the flowers away from this wood stem. So I got some floral cutters and I simply just snipped all of the flowers away from the stem. I did this with the large ones and the small ones and spread them out. I did a dry run with the flowers first. I placed them on top of my mat and I arranged them just the way that I wanted them to be so they were in the right spot before I glued them down permanently. To adhere the flowers to my mat, I'm going to be using some hot glue. I simply took the hot glue and I put it on the back of the flowers and then pressed them to the mat. I tried to mimic my inspiration art piece by putting several flowers in close proximity at the top and then spread out the flowers further as I got down to the bottom of the mat. I did this with all of my flowers until I was satisfied with the way that it looked. Now it's time to put everything back inside the shadow box. But before we do that, I need to remove the plastic coating that's on the plexiglass. Once that was off, I could put it back in the shadow box and then place my dried floral art inside. And finally, I replaced the backing. Now that we're done, I put it on top of my fireplace mantle. I love the way that this looks, you guys. It looks so high-end, so expensive. I love the monochromatic flowers and the shadow box frame, how they coordinate so beautifully together. You could use this in so many different areas of your home. I think it looks very similar to our inspiration piece. However, I have to say I do like mine better. I like the contrast between the cream flowers and the white frame. And I believe that my flowers look more realistic. Mine is a little bit smaller than the Perigold one, but if you remember, theirs cost $1,338. And after calculating all of the costs that went into creating my floral shadow box art, it was $39.83. That's a huge savings of our inspiration piece. I love the way my cascading floral art turned out, and we recreated it for a very affordable price. We are going to start off with a absolutely stunning piece of 3D wall art. It's this hand-folded paper butterfly spiral art. It's absolutely gorgeous. Look at those butterflies. They jump off the art, and those shiny gold metallic wings are stunning against that bright white backdrop. But that $775 price tag, ouch. That's how much it's gonna cost me because I am not a member. If you are, you're gonna save yourself a little bit more. But you guys, who's got that kind of money for wall art? I know I don't. So we are going to get an identical look. You guys, I'm telling you, it's almost identical for just hundreds less. I think you'll be amazed at the outcome and how much we save. So the first thing that we need is a shadow box. Well, a couple of years ago, Natalie and I were out shopping at Ikea, and I found a shadow box. The size is fantastic. It's huge. It's a 20 by 20, and it can accommodate our butterflies, and the color is right. It's the identical shade of white. Next, we need to create our hand-folded paper butterflies. Now, I have this pack of scrapbook paper. It's got a different selection of pearl metallics, cardstock, and party foil. So check out this piece of gold party foil right here. This is going to be absolutely perfect for our butterflies. Now, we are going to be using my Cricut Maker to create our butterflies. If you don't have a Cricut, I have other options for you. You can get a stencil, trace out your butterflies, and then cut them out. You can also get some stickers. That would work. You could purchase some. I found some on Amazon, and there's a multi-pack, and it's only $6.99. So just because you don't have a Cricut Maker doesn't mean you can't do this project. There are different ways, but what I did is I created a couple of different size shaped butterflies on my Cricut Design Space, and then I had my Cricut Maker cut them out. I have 3 different shapes and size butterflies because in our inspiration piece, they were different sized and shaped as well. These butterflies were cut out so fabulously, crisp and sharp. I peeled them away from my mat and organized them into 3 piles. Here are my different size and shaped butterflies. I've got everything from 2 inches to 1 inch and even down to 1/2 inch size butterflies. So I have a different variety of shapes and sizes. Now, what we need next is a backing to go in our shadow box. There isn't one in there right now, and we need one that is white. I have this large piece of white cardstock that's gonna work perfectly. So I got that, I put it over the top of my self-healing mat, and then I took the back of the shadow box itself and placed it over the top. I traced around the backing, and then I cut it out with my rotary cutter. I love using a rotary cutter. It gives me sharp, crisp lines, and the self-healing mat is a fantastic way to measure out appropriately and keep my lines straight. Next, I'm going to take my flat foil butterflies and fold them all in half so that we get a 3D butterfly now. So I just did that with all of the butterflies. These 3D butterflies look just like our inspiration piece. Folding them in half will give us the dimension we want. I folded each one of my butterflies in half, even down to the mini 1/2 inch butterflies. Before I attach them permanently to my cardstock, I'm going to do a quick dry run. So I took my 3D butterflies and I placed them where I wanted them to be permanently. I think it's important to do this step before gluing it down because right now you can still rearrange your butterflies and get the desired layout you want. Now that all of our butterflies are folded and they are put in place, we can get some hot glue and hot glue them to the cardstock. I'm adding a dab of hot glue to the back of the butterflies, and then I'm pressing them to the cardstock. Because we previously positioned our butterflies where we want them to be permanently, this step flies by in a jiffy. All I need to do was add hot glue to the back of the butterflies and press them in place. Once each and every butterfly in every shape and size had been hot glued in place, I fluffed up the wings one more time, just a little bit, because we want our butterflies to look like they're about to take flight. So repositioning the wings not only gives us the 3D look we want, but it also provides movement to our wall art. Now we can replace the backing into the shadow box frame, but I don't want my artwork to slide around as I'm putting it back into the frame, so I'm adding just a teeny dab of hot glue to the top and the bottom of my backing, and then I placed my artwork over the top. Now I can take that backing and place it back into our 3D shadow box frame. Now we are completely finished with our 3D butterfly wall art. You guys, this is seriously a masterpiece. It looks so much better in person. You can see all those butterflies and the 3D effect it gives. They look like they're metal. Even though we know they're not, they look so professional. Because we had our Cricut Maker cut them out, the wings are sharp and crisp, and you can see those cute little antennae just poking around. It's just absolutely adorable. And since we positioned our butterflies in the exact same areas as our inspiration piece, these pieces look identical. If I place them next to each other, you can see how similar they are. And can we talk about how easy this was to make? All I had to do was get these butterflies cut out, position them on a piece of cardstock, hot glue them in place, and then put them back into a frame. You guys could do this. I know you can. And I gave you a bunch of different options of different ways that you can achieve this same look if you do not have a Cricut Maker. You know you did a good job when the kids praise your work. My 11-year-old daughter, Violet, said that she loves this so much she wants it in her bedroom. So that makes me feel so good that she likes it, because you know kids will speak their mind and tell you the truth. All right, so let's go back to the Restoration Hardware website and remember our inspiration piece. It was beautiful. I loved everything about it except for that steep price of $775. That is so expensive. Let's add up all the costs that went into creating my butterfly wall art. The grand total was $24.99. You guys, we saved $750 recreating this gorgeous shadow box wall art. They are almost indistinguishable when you put them next to each other. I'll take my version over that pricey Restoration Hardware wall art any day of the week. We got a comparable piece for hundreds less. As soon as I entered my thrift store, my eyes were drawn to an exquisite ornate mirror hanging on the wall. It instantly caught my attention, and I knew it had potential. This thrifted mirror is originally from Ikea, and it came at the low, low price of $9.99, so I scooped it up. It is too dark for my taste. I don't love the black, and it also has some areas where the paint has chipped. There were also some stickers on this mirror, so there was a bunch of sticker residue which had to be cleaned off, which is no problem. I got a rag and some dish soap, and I scrubbed all that residue and all the dust and debris off of the mirror itself. And then I moved on and cleaned off the frame. We are going to be painting the frame of this mirror, and so I needed to protect the mirror itself. I'm going to do that with some copy paper and blue painter's tape. Now this copy paper will slide right underneath the frame of the mirror. There's a little bit of a gap, and so I slid a couple pieces underneath, and in the areas where the mirror was still exposed, I just covered that up with the blue painter's tape. Now it's time to paint our mirror. We're going to paint it in some gold Rust-Oleum spray paint. I took my mirror outside. I made sure that it was coated in the spray paint. I got inside those beautiful ornate nooks and crannies to make sure it was 100% coated in the gold spray paint. Once the first coat was on, I let it dry for 1 hour. I painted a second coat of the gold Rust-Oleum spray paint on it just to make sure that I got inside and coated every little part of this mirror. We don't want to see any of the black paint coming through. After the second coat of paint was on, I let it dry for another hour. At this point, I looked at the mirror and I thought it was too gold. It was like 24 karat gold, which wasn't the look I was going for. So in order to tone that down, I'm going to spray a top coat of paint. This is a metallic warm gold spray paint, and I sprayed a light coat of this over the top of the mirror. By adding this muted champagne gold over the top, it toned down the 24 karat gold, which gave me the warm gold tone I wanted. Once the top layer was on, I let it dry for an additional hour. Now we can remove the blue painter's tape and the copy paper and see our beautiful, newly updated mirror. If you've priced out mirrors like this, they are so expensive. So for me to get this mirror at my thrift store for $9.99 and paint it to make it look brand new is such a score. I love this mirror so much that I want to have it in my bedroom, so I'm going to actually layer it in front of a large streamlined mirror that's on my fireplace mantle. So I just took this mirror and placed it in the center of this mirror and leaned it up against it. By combining mirrors of various shapes, sizes, and frames, you can create a unique display. I love the way that these stacked mirrors reflect the chandelier in my space. And I love the juxtaposition between the ornate frame and the more streamlined contemporary frame. I think that they complement each other so well. Wasn't this a fun, easy flip? We definitely lucked out finding this beautiful mirror at the thrift store. We are going to stick with the Paragold website and we are going to dupe another one of their very expensive high-end pieces. This time it's going to be this handmade ceramic jar. The blue, white, and gold is stunning and I love the way that the paint is marbled. While I was at Ikea, I came across this plain old ceramic pot. I thought it was going to be perfect as far as size and shape goes, so I scooped it up. So now we have the center jar part. We need to find a lid and a base. So while I was at Hobby Lobby, I headed over to their wood rounds. I've used these several times before, and I picked up a package of 2 small wood rounds, and then I moved over and I found one that was just one size up, and I picked up that wood round as well. The detail around these wood rounds are going to be perfect for our jar because it adds a little bit of flair. The knob that we're going to be using on our lid is actually one of those doll heads that I have used in previous videos. They are from Michaels and I had some left over. What I've done with these doll heads in the past is I've used them as feet. I added feet to a thrift flipped container and then also a decorative box. So now that I have everything, it's time to paint. We're going to start off by painting the lid wood round and the actual ceramic pot itself. I'm going to be painting them in some white gloss Rust-Oleum spray paint. You may be wondering why I'm painting the container since it's already white, but I want these 2 whites to match. The Ikea container is a little off-white, so painting it will make everything cohesive. Once everything was coated in the white spray paint, I let them both dry for 1 hour. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I love to hydro dip, and this project was screaming out for a hydro dip technique. So we are going to do that. What I did was I got a container, just a large bucket, and I lined it with a garbage sack, and then I filled it almost to the top with water. The reason why I'm adding a garbage sack to my bucket is for ease of cleanup afterwards. And also because the paint, the leftover paint, will stick to the garbage sack and not to my bucket. All right, so now that everything is prepped, we are going to get our paint. I'm going to be using the white gloss Rust-Oleum spray paint, but also a Krylon Paint Plus primer in the color Royal Blue. What I'm gonna do is spray this paint into the water in 2-second increments. So I sprayed the white for 2 seconds and then the blue for 2 seconds, and then the white and the blue and the white and the blue until it formed a bullseye. I did this probably 20 times. That way I had a really great marbling effect. Once I had enough paint in there, I took my gloved hand and just swirled it around. Then I got my ceramic pot and I dipped it into the paint. The paint will cling to the container or whatever object you put into the paint. Once the paint had coated the entire container, I pulled it out. I love the swirls on this. It is unique and one of a kind. I repeated this process for the lid. I just simply sprayed the white and the blue paint in alternating colors. Then I took my lid and I dipped it into the paint, pulled it out. Look at how cool that swirl is, that bullseye is on the top of the lid. It looks so cool. This painting technique worked beautifully for this project. Once both of my pieces were coated in the paint, I let them dry for 1 hour. Now we need to paint the base and the lid, and we're going to do that with some gold Rust-Oleum spray paint. I painted both of them so they were 100% coated in the spray paint. Once they were fully coated, I let them dry for 1 hour. After my lid was dry, I took some blue painter's tape and I put it around the edge, and then I got a styrofoam plate and put that over the top. The reason why we're doing that is because we need to paint the circumference in the same gold Rust-Oleum spray paint. So I painted that right around the edge of the lid. Once it was coated in the spray paint, I let it dry for 1 hour. Now that everything is painted, it's time to assemble our decorative jar. I'm going to be using some E6000. I put the E6000 on the top of the wood base. I made sure that there was a lot of the E6000 all over the surface, and then I placed my container over the top. Then I took the knob and I added some E6000 to the bottom of the knob, and I put it directly in the center of the wood round lid. Then I let both of these pieces dry overnight. Now all I need to do is take the lid and pop it right over the top of my decorative jar. Look at how awesome this jar looks, you guys. Look at how unique. I love the painting technique. Check out the lid. Wow. I had so much fun making this too. And can you believe that this started out as a ceramic pot from Ikea? I love the way that it's been transformed. It looks so similar to our inspiration piece, but it was so much cheaper to make. Do you remember how much our inspiration piece cost? It was $145. After calculating all the costs that went into creating my beautiful decorative jar, it is $19.49. That's a great deal. We saved so much money. It looks beautiful, unique, one of a kind. I'm so happy with the way my recreation turned out. I don't know if you've noticed, but the color palette today is blue and white. I didn't even do it on purpose, it just happened to be that way. So since our first 3 projects have been blue and white, we're gonna stick to that same color scheme. And our next dupe is going to be a blue and white floral arrangement. I found this one on the Wayfair website, and it comes in at the price of $82.99. That's a lot, and I know that we can make one for so much less. So the first thing that we need to do is get a container. Target has some great containers. They have a big variety, so I bought one there. Some of the florals that we are going to be using are from Ikea. They have a huge variety of florals there, plants and all kinds of flowers, so I picked up some white ones there. And the other flowers that I'm going to be using are from the Dollar Tree and just other ones that I have in my stash at home. So the first thing we need to do is create a tape grid. I got some tape and I made 2 lines horizontally and 2 lines vertically across the top of my container. Now I'm simply going to take my flowers and put them in the same location as the flowers in our inspiration piece. This is an easy way to recreate a floral arrangement, especially if you're a novice floral arranger. All you need to do is find an inspiration piece and copy the placement of the florals. You guys, I love the way that this floral arrangement turned out. It was so easy to do. This took me maybe 20 minutes to put together in total. My floral arrangement looks so similar to the Wayfair floral arrangement, but mine came in at a fraction of the cost. The Wayfair arrangement was $82.99. After calculating the cost of my floral arrangement, it came to a grand total of $20. This looks so pretty on my nightstand, and it ties the rest of the blue and white that I have in my room together. And as a bonus, in the future, I can take these florals out and use them in another project and use this vase in another project as well. So this is a very versatile arrangement. Floral arrangements are perfect in home decor because they can bring in a color scheme, they can add freshness and vibrance to a room while also adding an elegant touch of the outdoors. Our next dupe is going to be from Horchow as well, and it is a flower arrangement. I love making flower arrangements. Any chance I get, I love to do it because they are just so bright and cheerful, especially when we get to use peonies. Now, this arrangement from Horchow is $395. It's a beautiful piece. It's 10 inches tall, so it's not that big, but for that price, I am positive that we can make it for less. The Ikea piece that we're gonna use in this is a glass container. I found this jar. This is going to be perfect for one of my dupes. It's only $4.99, which is a steal. We're gonna start off by transforming our glass container because it is clear right now and we want it to be opaque. I have this Krylon frosted glass spray paint. I took my container outside and I sprayed it in this frosted spray paint. I made sure it was completely covered in the paint. If you want more of a translucent look, just lightly spray it. I wanted mine to be saturated to match the inspiration piece, so I sprayed my container heavily in this frosted glass spray paint. Once I was satisfied with the look, I let it dry for 1 hour. The floral selection at Ikea is one of my favorite places to be. You can go there and just spend so much time, and they have beautiful stems and they're not that expensive. So I picked up a hydrangea stem, a really full big hydrangea, and then I also got a bunch of peonies, some pink peonies that match perfectly with our inspiration piece. Now, I love to use the tape grid method, so I got out my Scotch tape and I put it over the top of my container. Now, usually when you buy bunches of peonies, you can remove the floral tape and you can pull the flowers out individually, right? That's what I thought was going to happen. Well, that's not the case. They were stuck together. So if you do purchase a bunch of flowers from Ikea, there is a high likelihood that it will come stuck together in one bunch. So I had to use my creativity, and instead of cutting them, what I just did was I bent the stems to fan the flowers out. I also had to get creative with my large hydrangea floral. So it was too big and I needed to trim it down. So I just cut off a couple of the stems of flowers from the big bunch to create a smaller one. So now I can put my flowers in my container. I bent the stem of the hydrangea and I put that in, and then I put my bunch of peonies in as well. Then I went back and I added those stems that I cut off from the large hydrangea, and I just put them in sporadically to make my arrangement look full and beautiful. This floral arrangement was so easy to make. I literally just painted this container, added a tape grid, and then put my flowers inside. Anybody can do this, but look at how beautiful this is. It's just so pretty. And we spent a fraction of the price of what our inspiration piece cost. So let's go over ours. Our cost for the container from Ikea was $4.99. We'll estimate that we used about half a can of this frosted paint, so we'll say that was $3. The hydrangea stem was $5.99 and our peonies were $6.99. So in total, it cost me $21 to create our beautiful floral arrangement. We ended up saving $374 over our inspiration piece. from Horchow, and you guys, it's over $4,000. Way too much for me to pay. This is what it is. It's a gorgeous piece of wall art. I love the colors, the textures, the size, everything about it is absolutely stunning, except for, of course, the price. As you can see, it is $4,125. That's way out of my budget, so let's make it for less. The first IKEA item that we are going to use in our dupes is a placemat. They have a huge variety of placemats here. Placemats are so versatile. They can be for some art. So let's see what we can do with this pretty one right here. But we are not gonna leave this placemat plain. We are going to jazz it up. And we're gonna do that with some white craft paint. So I got my craft paint and a paintbrush, and I began to paint along the outside of this placemat. I went around the rim of the placemat and then I just worked my way inside. I'm going to paint various areas on this placemat to make my artwork look unique and special. It's not identical to our inspiration piece, but it's pretty close. And I like the unique touches that we added to make ours one of a kind. So once I had all the paint on my placemat, I let it dry for 1 hour. In the meantime, while this paint was drying, it's time to focus on the frame. Now the frame in our inspiration piece is a lucite frame. My frame is from the thrift store and it was only $5.99. What we're gonna do with my frame is we are going to paint it white. So I had to remove the glass and the backing from the frame, and then I took my frame outside and I sprayed it in some white gloss Rust-Oleum spray paint. I made sure it was completely saturated in the spray paint. I painted the top, the sides, and once it was completely done, I let it dry for 2 hours. The backing on our inspiration piece was neutral and it looked like it was textured, and so I wanted to do something very similar, and I remembered that I had some leftover fabric from when we redid the dining room. I reupholstered these chairs and I had some of this leftover fabric, and so that's what we're going to use. I cut out a square of this fabric and I covered the backing from my frame. I got some hot glue and I hot glued the fabric to the back of the frame to make it stay in place. Then I took my placemat and I put it in the center of our square. I got a ruler out to make sure that it was centered, and then I got some hot glue and I hot glued the placemat to the backing. Now that everything's been transformed, it's time to put it back together. So I got my frame and I put my glass in first, then I put in our artwork. Now, because we have a 3D placemat in the front, it's not going to fit like it did originally. It's gonna poke out just a little bit in the back. So I was able to clamp down a couple of the staples, but in order to secure it really well together, I got some clear packing tape and I put it around the edge where the backing and the frame meet. That way the artwork does not fall out of the frame. Now we are finished with our artwork. I love the way that this turned out. It would be a beautiful piece in so many different decor styles. And I think it is very similar to our inspiration piece. Well, similar in the fact that they look the same, but they certainly do not cost the same. So let's go over the cost of how much I spent to create my wall art. The placemat from Ikea was $7. The frame from the thrift store was $5.99. The square of fabric was $3. We'll say that we spent like a quarter on the craft paint. We didn't use that much. So in total, it's going to cost me $16.25 to create my wall art. I love that cost. That is a great cost for this beautiful wall art. And that means that we saved $4,108.75 over the Horchow piece. For our next dupe, we are going to the Wayfair website. Now, I was scrolling through there and I found this cast aluminum tray. So pretty, absolutely loved it. And I always like making trays. I'm using this bamboo tray that I purchased at Ikea. This is going to be the top of our tray. This tray from Wayfair was $93.81. And so we are going to make our own. What I'm gonna do is get this bamboo tray, that's gonna be the top, but we need to create a base. So what I'm going to do to make the detailed portion on the base of our tray is get a Dollar Tree candy dish and a wood burner tool. The plastic dissolved right before my eyes. I hardly had to do anything. I went around the base of this candy dish. It was so simple to remove the bottom piece. Now, yes, you can get a Dollar Tree candlestick instead of doing what I'm doing, so you can use that as an alternative, but I thought it would be fun to show you guys a different kind of technique. Next, we're going to get our stacked rectangles and put those underneath our decorative piece. I had some leftover wood from the fireplace build that I did a couple weeks back. I got my jigsaw and I cut 2 different sized pieces out. One that was about a ½ an inch bigger than the other. Now I have all of my pieces. I've got the 2 rectangles. I have the decorative centerpiece and the top tray. So let's assemble everything together. I got some liquid nails and I put that in between the 2 pieces of wood, pressed that firmly together, and then I put some on the bottom of my decorative plastic piece and put that on top of the wood. I added some more liquid nails to the top of the plastic piece and then pressed my tray on top. I'm going to let this dry for several hours just to make sure that it's really sturdy before we move it. So now that everything's dry, let's take it outside and spray it in some spray paint. I'm using some shiny silver paint. This is a Rust-Oleum spray paint. I made sure the entire tray and the base was saturated in this shiny silver spray paint. Once everything was completely covered, I let it dry for 1 hour. And that's it. We are all done with our beautiful tray. I think it looks so similar to our inspiration piece. Theirs is a little bit longer than mine, but that's okay because again, we were able to save so much money. So let's calculate the price of how much it cost us to make our tray. We'll say that the scrap wood was 50 cents. We spent $1.25 on the Dollar Tree candy dish. The tray from Ikea was $5.99. We used about ½ a can of spray paint, so we'll say that that was $4. And then we used about 50 cents of the liquid nails. So in total, our tray cost us $12.25 to make, which means that we saved $81.56 over our inspiration piece. Well, I hope you got some inspiration or some ideas today. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching.